Hi, fifth graders. It is Wednesday, May 20th, and we only have one page here on this day for reading. So let's take a look at it. It says, page 33, it says, for science class, John has written an informational report comparing gold to pyrite, also called fool's gold. His teacher has asked that he revise the report to include words and phrases that show the relationship between details. Read the paragraph from the report and the directions that follow. How can you tell the difference between rare, real gold and common pyrite? Gold and pyrite are metallic. Gold is silvery and gleams softly. Pyrite is pale and shines harshly. Gold and pyrite take very different shapes. Gold appears as nuggets, flakes, or sheets. Pyrite takes the shape of cubes or figures with 8 or 12 sides. Gold is a soft metal and can be cut with a pocket knife. Pyrite is much harder than gold and cannot be cut. When you rub gold with a nail file, it gives off no odor. Pyrite smells strongly of sulfur. Try hitting the mineral sample with a hammer. Because gold is soft, it will change shape like clay, but not break. Pyrite will shatter. Revise the paragraph so that it contains words and phrases that clearly show the relationships between details. The revised paragraph should be well organized and include sentences that are clear and complete. Okay, so for this, guys, what I'd like to do is draw your attention back to something we previously did. So look what they're doing here. They are comparing gold to pyrite. Okay, so this is going to be a compare-contrast response. So what I'd like you to do is go back to page when we were talking about the coral reefs. Okay, so this one was the compare and contrast. This one was the cause and effect, I believe. Compare and contrast, let's see. Wait a minute. Oh, this was cause and effect. This one is compare and contrast because they were hold on a minute. So generally when you are writing an essay comparing two things, it's best to talk all about one thing in one paragraph and then all about the other in the second paragraph. So you might write a paragraph about all the elements of gold, and then in the second paragraph talk about pyrite and how it's different or similar to gold. So that to me is the best way to revise that, is to make two separate paragraphs, one for gold and one for pyrite. All right? All right, guys, that is it for, wait a minute, hold on, this is reading. Sorry, I guess we have writing to do too. Hold on, let me minimize this. Fifth grade writing. Okay, so we have, I believe we're on journal entry 6. Let's take a look. We did 5. Yeah. And then we did hold on. Maybe we didn't do this yet. Maybe we just did 5. Hold on a minute. All right, guys, for writing, we are on pages 20 and 21. So let's take a look. This is about commas after introductory elements. Good writers vary the beginnings of their sentences to make their writing more interesting. When you write, use a comma to set off an introductory word or phrase from the rest of the sentence. Okay, so if you say yes or no, you put a comma there. Obviously, with a dependent clause, when it comes at the beginning of the sentence, you always put a comma after it. So while on the plane ride to Chile, Victor thought about the race. Okay, so this is a dependent clause. It's not a complete sentence. Because he had trained hard, comma, he was in great shape. Okay, and then use a comma after a prepositional phrase that comes at the beginning of the sentence. So under the blazing sun, comma, more than 100 people would race for 7 days. All right, I know your teachers are going over this one, so I'm going to go on to part 2, the independent practice. So it says, for numbers 1 to 5, choose the correct way to rewrite the underlined part of each sentence. Okay, so these all say the same thing. You just have to do the correct punctuation, which we just learned about with commas after introductory elements. And if you need to look back at that while you're doing it, you certainly may. All right, so at the end of the first day, Victor collapsed in his tent. All right, so how would we write that correctly? This one says, at the end of the first day, Victor. At the end of the first day, Victor. At the end of the first day, Victor, comma. At the end of the first day, Victor. So this one would be, at the end of the first day, Victor collapsed in his tent. So which would be correct here? Okay, this is actually it's a prepositional phrase, and it's also a dependent clause. So at the end of the first day, what happened? Victor collapsed in his tent. So the best one there would be B, where it says, at the end of the first day, and you pause, and then you say, Victor collapsed in his tent. Okay, I'm not going to give you answers on all of them, but I wanted to get you started there. All right, so let's move on to 2. Before the sun rose, the runners set out across the plains. Okay, before the sun rose, the runners set out across the plains. Well, this one says, before the sun rose, the runners set out across the plains. Before the sun rose, the runners set out across the plains. Before the sun rose, the runner set out across the plains. Because remember, after a comma, you have to pause. Before the sun rose, the runners set out across the plain. All right, where do you think a comma goes there? Where does it sound the best? So, essentially, if you look at this, you're making a statement, but it's not a complete sentence. It's a dependent clause because you don't know what happened before the sun rose. So before the sun rose, what happened? The runner set out across the plains. Do you see that? So the comma would go here after rose. Okay, I hope this is becoming clearer now. All right, so let's look at number 3. Although sand stung his face, Victor kept running. So this one, although sand stung his face, Victor kept running. 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 So which one do you think where should the comma go? I don't know if they gave you any hints up here. although is a preposition though. Okay. All right, so although sand stung his face, Victor kept running. All right, now let's look at number 4. When he finally reached the finish line, he was thrilled. So is it A, when he finally reached the finish line, he was thrilled? B, when he finally reached the finish line, he was thrilled? C, when he finally reached the finish line, he was thrilled? And then D, when he finally reached the finish line, he was thrilled. Okay? All right, and number 5. Yes, he had achieved the goal of a lifetime. So let's look at A. Yes, he had achieved the goal of a lifetime. B. Yes, he had achieved the goals of a lifetime. C. Yes, he had achieved the goal of a lifetime. And D. Yes, he had achieved the goal of a lifetime. So mark which one you think that is. And that is it for today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.